Down in Miami, where the sun meets the sea, FIU is calling where you meant to be. With top-ranked programs, your future shines bright. Join us at FIU, where the stars align just right.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to dive into the fascinating world of marketing strategy, the strategic process. This isn't just about coming up with clever ad campaigns. It's a rigorous, systematic approach to achieving your business goals in a competitive marketplace. We'll break down the key components from setting your aims to putting your plans into action. Let's begin. The foundation. These three terms, that is, objectives, strategies, and tactics, are the bedrock of any successful marketing plan. Let's start with objectives. Think of objectives as your ultimate destination. What do you want to achieve? Your objectives need to be specific, measurable, achievable, etc. Here's an example of an objective. Increase market share for product X by 5% in the next 12 months. And there are two other examples for you to peruse at your leisure. In your game, you got real clear objectives. Get your brand score over 70 in every single market you attack.
Now, it is time for your first question for this video, which is, what is the definition of a measurable objective? Please pause the video and answer this question in Canvas.
Strategy is the overarching plan for how you will reach your objective. It's the what and the why. For example, expanding into new geographic markets by partnering with local distributors is a strategy based on the objective expanding into new geographic markets. Tactics are specific actions and activities you undertake to execute your strategy. They are the how. For example, if your strategy is to pursue a cost leadership strategy, you got to negotiate bulk discounts, you have to automate your processes to reduce labor costs, and streamline your shipping and logistics to minimize delivery expenses. So what are your strategies for the simulation? Eventually you're going to go to all the markets, all the cities that is, and all the brands or products. But where do you start? Do you start in New York with speed, the best market for speed, which is New York, and very profitable? Or do you start out in Amsterdam, a huge market for work? What's your strategy going to be? Or do you go after a smaller market like Johannesburg because no one else will go there and then you're there alone and no competition? You got to remember, if you go after the big market like New York, you better have perfect brand scores and ad scores. No messing around. In Johannesburg, you get a little more, room for error. Think about it.
Basically, objectives tell you where you're going, strategy tells you how you plan to get there, and tactics are the detailed steps you take along the way.
We are now going to dive just a little bit deeper into each of these strategic components.
Every strategic journey begins with a clear understanding of the situation at hand. This step is about asking the fundamental question, what are we trying to solve, or what opportunity are we trying to seize? Once you've defined the problem or opportunity, the next crucial step is to conduct a comprehensive strategic analysis. This involves gathering and interpreting information about your internal capabilities and the external environment.
First, we're going to look inward. What are our core competencies? What resources do we possess that others don't? Could be financial, human, technological. What are the other competitive advantages we have that the others don't? But we also have to look at our limitations and weaknesses. Next, we do an external analysis. What's going on in the market? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Who are our target markets? What is their lifestyle, etc.? Then we look at our competitors. Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they direct or indirect? And next, we look at the general environment. What's going on in politics? Is the government forces going to cause problems for us? Is the economy going bad? What are the social factors, cultural trends, things like that? Any new technology, etc. An additional area of market analysis that you need to engage in the simulation is how much are people willing to pay? Each market or city has a different price point for each bike. And this should also be part of your analysis as to where to start and how much to price for each bike as you go through the simulation.
Now it is time for your second question in this video, which is, what is the definition of a market analysis? Please pause the video and answer this question in Canvas.
Now you are ready to formulate your strategies. This is where you translate your insights from the analysis into actionable plans. Based on your objectives and the findings from your strategic analysis, you formulate your overarching strategy.
Most people identify multiple strategic alternatives by brainstorming, talking about it, etc., because there's usually not one right answer. And then they compare these alternatives against each other. And does it fit the company? The feasibility, do we have those resources? Is it profitable? What's the risk or downsides? And does it align with what our organization stands for, our value, our missions? And how will it relate to the competition? Will it differentiate us from them? Once you've chosen your strategy that aligns with your objectives and leverages your company's strengths and addresses weaknesses, etc., you need to decide on your value proposition. That is, what unique benefits will you offer to your target customers as opposed to the competition? In the simulation, you're eventually going to have 5 strategies. That is, meeting the needs of each market. Where you start is up to you. You could go after work, the biggest market, but less profitable, but a cheaper bike to make. Or the speed, the most expensive bike to make, but also you can sell at a very high price and thus more profitable. Eventually, you got to have the niche for each one of these 5. Once you've chosen your strategy, this will guide your decisions across the marketing mix, namely your product, in your case, the branding and the product design. Next, the price. You're going to decide how to price your product. So that is it a prestige product or is it a low-priced product or somewhere in the middle? Distribution. Well, those are your various cities. And your promotion, you're going to do advertising, social media, etc. in your simulation.
Once your strategy is set, you drill down into the specific tactics that will execute that strategy. This is the operational level of planning. Detailing specific actions. Break down your strategy into concrete, measurable steps. Assigning responsibilities. Who is responsible for what? Setting timelines. When will each action be completed? Allocating resources. What budget, personnel, and other resources are needed for each tactic?
For example, if your strategy is to increase online customer engagements, you might try a new blog series or run targeted social media campaigns on Facebook or Instagram. Or you might implement an email marketing automation sequence for new subscribers, or host a monthly live question and answer session with industry experts on your YouTube channel.
Execution. This is where the rubber meets the road. All the planning, analysis, and strategizing culminate in putting the plan into action. Effective execution is often the most challenging part of the strategic process.
When you're ready to implement, you got to make sure you carry out the tactics as planned with good communication, proper resource allocation, etc. You also need to start now monitoring and controlling things to make sure that you are getting where you want to go. You got to have key performance indicators and track your progress. If you don't measure it, you don't know if it ever happened. One of the key measurement tools you're going to be using in your simulation is market share. How are you doing versus the competition? You should be regularly assessing your tactics and strategies And this involves collecting data, analyzing results, and comparing them to your objectives. The market is dynamic. Things change. And you have to be prepared to adapt and adjust your strategies and tactics. Sometimes it's a small change, but sometimes it could be to totally alter your strategic direction. Adjustments happen in real life and in your simulation. In the simulation, you're going to be going along, and then you're going to have to compare your ads to everybody else's ads. You're going to get an ad score. And if you're down at the bottom with a 74 or a 66, you got to change to get up to an 82.
Your final quiz question is, what tactics in the simulation will you probably need to adjust as the simulation progresses?
Thanks for watching. The end.